I think that's a good place to get started. You can think about why you haven't seen this map in tourneys. I think it was played in one event once, but yeah, it wasn't really designed for that. So, right, overlay, go away. Um, yeah, so I'm gonna look at all the maps from the contest that we had on the RMS Discord over the holidays. I will be saving the VOD to my channel, so it'll be available indefinitely. Or if I need to make space, I'll export it to YouTube. It'll be available there. So if you don't manage to catch it, you can always catch it later. I wasn't involved in the judging, but the judging is complete from what I've heard, and at the end we will find out what the results are. I don't know what they are yet. I also haven't looked at the maps in detail beyond reading what was posted when they were submitted. So I've downloaded them all. And we're going to go through in the order they were submitted. Let me know if my audio is good, by the way, or if there are any issues like that. It's been a while since I streamed. And we'll get started at the top. So, yeah, this was a 3-week contest. And the maps will be judged on competitiveness, map theme, and visual appeal. There's no reward beyond that the top 5 maps are going to be played in a show match, and of course they're being featured on the stream now. They're generally getting some publicity, so maybe they'll get used in some other events in the future. And just for fun, I thought I'd actually start with the example, 2 example submissions to warm us up. So let's do that. I have them all in here. We're just going to test on 1v1 for the most part. So example 0 was example obstructive. Oh, right. I should mention that too. There were 2 themes that you could have your map cover one or both of. And those were to have large obstructive formations or to have just non-square maps. So this is the example for obstructive formations. Basically, we have some rocks here. Players start super close in the center, but there are some rocks that make it sort of a bit of a choke point. And then you can expand out to the outside. There are also some obstructive formations on the outside. One tricky business is, of course, that you can't see these ones on this map on the mini map. So maybe it would make sense to put some sort of unique terrain under there so that it's easily visible on the mini map where the obstructions are actually located. And you're definitely going to be fighting over this central hill here. Yeah, the gold didn't generate the first time around. This is just an example map, right? The gold's not there now. The gold is generated only for one player. Might need a bit of fine-tuning on the center area. I think I once, when I was looking at them too, had one where the middle was blocked entirely. But, like, it's a fun idea of starting very close together but being blocked. And I could, for maps that need it, I'll go generate them in single player, but otherwise we'll just stick to the scenario editor. Alright. Let's not do a Windows update right now. Good. We're not looking at 4v4. We could actually just see what happens in 4v4 just for fun. But I shouldn't get too hung up on the example maps. Let's see. Oh, it is 4v4, alright. Wow, that's a bad example if this is a 1v1 contest and you're giving us a 4v4 example. Ah. Ah. Right. Okay. Yeah, okay, that's relevant. Relevant information. The 2 players fight for the middle and the rest are on the outside. It kind of works for 1v1 even though. Uh, anyway, let's go to the next map, which is the other example that we got, which was non-square. So essentially you also have obstructions here, but the area that you're playing in is not square at all. I have seen this one. This was in some, or one that looked like this was in a previous contest. Probably this one. Each player has sort of a base, and you fight for this choke point. And in 4v4, let's see what it does there. Probably some silliness. It crashes. It freezes. Yeah, I do remember this map. I think it didn't have stone on the outside. Maybe that you could actually fish the water. Oh, it is. It has generated 4v4, except it's not set up for that, so there are no players. Makes sense. Right. Let's just. By the way, here's the new main menu from the upcoming DLC. So let's get to the proper submissions now. So. First up we have Arakeen. Submitted for both themes. Players start in a circle-shaped base. The roughly circular middle is divided from the outside by a ring in which berries and a variable woodline, small, medium, large. Stone and gold can spawn either inside or outside. So, do we see this ring? We do kind of see this ring. I mean, the ring has holes, right? It's a non-solid ring. So that's basically just thematic, I would say. We also have sort of this inner ring. Stone. Berries spawning in the medium ring here, and then I guess gold on the outside, and what's in which ring can vary. Now gold, outside, berries, stone. Let's try again. Maybe it's always stone, berries, gold. I read the description. Stone and gold can be either inside or outside. Okay. And now gold is on the inside and stone is on the outside. There's also some quicksand terrain, but I think it's only used for masking. That should be fine. Very open map. And it is not square. Lots of nice round shapes. Yeah, I could imagine this being played in some sort of events. Just because it's likely to be the type of map that pros like to play on because it's consistent. And that hosts like to choose because it's very open and difficult to wall. Some gallows here, yeah. Nice decoration everywhere too. Rhino. Yeah, it looks good. Let's check the next map, which is called Holler. Okay, right, let me go back to the description again. Holler. A cone split into several sections split by various barriers. Players start in a small mangrove area surrounded by a barrier of reeds. Next section is cracked terrain, then another reed barrier, then a grassy area with a river beyond. Then a gravelly area in front of more mangrove shallows backed by a wall of stone. Once the stone is mined through, the players can enter the hilly baobab forests. So I think the idea is that the players basically have to work their way through, assuming that they don't kill each other in this section already. There seem to be a bunch of mule carts that players start with. Nomads start. So there's some food here. You find a couple water buffalo, a couple berries. Not that much food, but I suppose enough to get started. Also, there's something happening here with probably temporary objects, so we'll have to check this one in game. And then the second layer isn't really worth anything, just cracked terrain. But I guess you need the wood. Then you get here, a bit more wood. You have to transport across this. And then you want to mine through that. And then you're here where you can't easily build a TC at all. It's definitely in the theme of obstructions and being non-square. However, how often will games actually get over here? Probably not so often, given how cramped the starting area is, would be my general thought. Let's test it in game. Alright. AI. Reveal map normal. So we found. Right. Realistically, we'd be going to our cart here, trying to secure as many of these. We'd be brutally fighting for any of these that we could find. We have the wood for a TC, so I guess we build one, right? You want the villagers. You build it close to the wood line. You go try to steal some more, anything you can like this. I mean, the shape is presumably basically you hard code with a bunch of tiny lands. That's what this map looks like, where like all the lands are hard coded. So you just have a million one tile, or yeah, basically 1% lands that are a black area on the outside. Let me just deal with that just a second. Alright. So let's speed up this process a little bit. We want to get through here. Right. So we're through. We have no food, though that's a problem. So just harvest all the food. We have one cart in each section that can explore. 50 wood. Guess you have more chickens here. Terrific tons. Actually, do these... Oh, I'm Chinese. That's quite useful in terms of population space, right? The general idea is that you work your way through. And you get here, then you build a dock. Wait, ignore going to the next stage, because we're not really interested in that. We have another one here. Yeah, definitely an interesting idea. And relatively unique. And you get over here, you've got stone to mine. But the difficulty is that you're here, you're really contesting the food sources at the beginning. So it might be difficult to reach anything close to this area over here. We're not going to look at the code in the scripts themselves unless we want to, but... It's not... We've ended up with a few individual rocks here. And this is just a barricade, yeah. Yeah, cool. You don't have much wood until you get there, honestly. You really have to be on the move. Yeah, probably it's probably the single tiles that aren't covered in black. I would explain it. Alright, next up we have Blind Valley. I will go read the description again. Let me find the description. Yeah, with the single tiles, you can solve it by making the individual lands larger, but then you have to make sure that the ones that you make larger aren't too close to the stuff that you don't want to cover. There is the image to RMS tool. I don't know if you use that. I think it would be helpful for this type of map so that you don't have to manually generate the lands. Blind Valley is 5 circular lands surround the center of the map. In the borders, high cliffs won't let you get out. Players can spawn in any of the 5 circular lands, so your enemy could be just next to you or could be on the other side of the map. Exploration will be vital to decide your strategy. And let's take a look at it. So, we have some ugly looking black masked with stone, with snow. But of course it's on the outside, you wouldn't see much of it anyway. Although if you're going to go for this, you could almost just go for the placeholder terrain. Unless maybe it's meant to be snowy. Anyway, I'll stop criticizing that. So we have our circles. Each circle has some starting resources. Let's see, I'm seeing 2 bore. Some standard looking starting resources, except you don't have as much gold and stone. And then the other circles do not have the same resources. So you can tell very quickly which one your opponent. I mean, it's not hard to check all 5 either. You're just scouting a circle once, but I think the clever thing here would be to actually give every single circle exactly the same resources. At the risk of handing out too many extra boar and stuff like that, but you'd also have the issue of where to put the relics. But that would make it a bit more of a. It would require a little bit more time to find your opponent. There's an interesting looking object right there. Huh. It's like a ruined shrine. That's cool. Oh, there are a couple of those nestled throughout. That's that's quite cool. Yeah, it is annoying when with terrain generation when you say, I want to replace 100% of something and it doesn't do 100% of something. So your black terrain is always covered by lava. That's because one of the map packs, one of the ones that Coral made, it's a map pack, but the map pack also gives custom terrains for lava, replacing the black terrain with lava. So you should check. I don't remember which map pack it is, but it's one of the map packs is shipping the lava textures for you. Oh, do I need to change to Gaia? That could try that. Yeah. Select. I can make the outlines appear. I think this is some object that's where the graphics have been changed, perhaps. Can I move it? I can't even move it. There's also some weird stuff happening here, honestly, on my. There's some weird stuff going on here. I don't know. You could check in the script to see how it's implemented. There you go. You solved your lava. Let's generate this a few more times. So the likeliest, of course, is that you're 2 out of 5 away from your opponent, although you can be next to them. We've got we have the autumn maple trees with bamboo, sort of an Asian theme going. I like these rocks here. I use them as well. And we're going to test this one in game 2 just with the color correction and so on. Unfortunately, the 3D water is still broken in the scenario editor if you generate multiple times. I think it's very easy to identify where your opponent is. You do one scouting run, you see a relic, it's not there. You see a 5-tile gold, you know your opponent's there. Or you see a 3-tile gold and your opponent isn't there, or you see a 1-tile stone and you know your opponent isn't there. But still, some variation is always good. And the layout does look like a flower as well. There's also some, just as an improvement perhaps, the circles aren't perfectly aligned. Like there's a gap here where the wood lines from the center are making it in. Well, the gap doesn't exist here. It does exist somewhat here. It doesn't exist there. Now the gap is down here. Maybe that's intentional that the positions aren't 100% set. I'm noticing that too, actually, that the 5 positions do rotate around. So maybe it's not fixed position, actually 5 circular lands on a perfect circle radius. That's just a variation. That's cool. Let's test that one in game to see the color correction. I'll just check my settings to make sure too I have 3D Beach. I'm not doing bloom. Yeah, that's good. Huh. Yeah, looks nice. Yeah, and this is just scenery, which is fine. Also, all of this is buildable. Yeah. Definitely not square. So, next up, we have Bazzi is God, which is taking a bit longer to generate. I'm noticing a lot of resources. Ooh. I mean, obviously there's the shape of the map and the face, but look at the amount of rabbits and foxes. All right, let's go read the description. I think the description, though, says, right, a picture speaks 1,000 words. Scroll, scroll, scroll. A picture says more than 1,000 words, which is why you have to write more than 1,000 words and not provide any pictures when you do a map. Is the map too large? Ah! Well, good to know that it actually generates on that side. It's still a large number of rabbits. Alright, now I'm interested. It's going to take forever to generate, but while that generates, let's see if I missed anything. Yeah, so this is by Crosini, and it's basically the picture is the highlight of the map. And I probably shouldn't have generated it on Ludicrous. However, the black terrain here, this is a good example of how you can make your obstructions visible on the minimap. Oh boy, Ludicrous does not work. I mean, you can still see the face and the outline. Oh boy. Oh boy. Alright, that's too large. Let's try like a normal size, like 8 player. Still taking a long time to generate. Hey, the TC is in the forest. I see it. I thought it was missing, but it's actually in the forest over there. Forest, nothing, but you're not next to your TC, so you have to build a lumber camp. Alright, come on. I will generate a tiny map next, so it doesn't take as long. Come on. Your script is too large, clearly, or has too many actor areas. I don't know if the game is... I think the game is just hung up trying to generate it. Probably. Like, it hasn't properly crashed. My memory usage isn't going up. There we go. Well, that takes an inordinate amount of time to generate, but it does generate an 8-player map. Right. Should we mess around more with different sizes? There we go. This is the proper size to play this on. Oh, let's be serious. So, yeah, 2-player map generates fairly quickly. Yes, generates fairly quickly. There are a lot of chickens, a lot of rabbits, a lot of foxes, and most of the gold is actually near the players. There's a little bit has snuck out to the top. Relics are up there, and you basically have to go up contested. I guess foxes are gold too. But you're also fighting very close here. I guess you have a barrier, and then when it's too large, the lands can bleed through. Makes sense. I'm tempted to see if it supports more players, but this would take too long to generate, so we will not do that. A lot of hills. Kind of tricky, although there's still room to TC. And the obstructions are relevant. You could wall, bam, there. Wall yourself a nice area at the top. Like it's sort of a meme submission, but it's actually works as a map. The gold is up there again in that spot. Yeah. Alright. Do I want to test it with 8 players? No, let's do like 4 players on a 4-player size. See if it can do 4 players. No, it cannot do 4 players. Ah! Alright. Excuse the... We don't have many maps to go through, so I can take the time to do this fun stuff. So adding more players to this map just adds more petals to the flower. Which is cool. So if I said 8 players on an 8-player map, do we still get like a gap between every plant? Let's see what happens then. Yeah, so then there's like 1 gap between each one. That's cool. And if I do 2 players on an 8-player map, then it does that. That's fine. Not really designed for that, but makes sense. See, it's always good when, like, if you can make a map support more player counts without too much extra work, it's always worth doing it. So, oh, there's some cliffs I've managed to escape. Yeah, so this one just places everyone's things. Probably works for 8 players as well. Yeah, it's exactly the same map layout, just everything scaled up. Just fine. Alright, let's do. Okay, so this one, 4 players, puts them. Okay, some things aren't working as they did on the 2v2 or 1v1, but it does actually place the players, which is always good. It's just putting like a really fat ring here between them. In some places, but not everywhere. Yeah, there are probably some terrain tricks going on that don't work out anymore. You've got more players. Of course, the maps were being judged for 2v2. Or 1v1, sorry, 1v1. So this is all just having fun on my part. It's still a cool layout with more people. You would want this barrier to be, you want this area to be consistently either between players or not between players. But in principle, it works. Right, the examples we already did. Okay. 8 players on Tiny. Yeah. Right, let's go on. 5. Okay. Description. Mount St. Michael. And about themes. Located on the tidal island 1 kilometer off the coast of Normandy, France, this remarkable castle of Mont Saint-Michel lies in between long empty strips of tidal flooded sandbanks and gravel beaches. Players can storm the fortress to clear out defending troops and take over the Gaia Castle or other buildings for themselves, as well as the commune's precious gold and relics. However, the walls and the fully-aided Castle Age units will try to prevent that. We'll have to test that. Gaia Fortress in the middle. Towers are eye candy, basically just act as a wall. The driftwood has 500 wood. Docking is impossible, and the castle doesn't shoot arrows until it's player controlled. And the starting resources are also listed, but we don't need to read those out loud right now. Player, it's under. I mean, here you modify specific players, but having just generally a list of how many players here might make sense. Also, having this box be about twice as wide would be sensible. Let me just sit in there for later. All right, we've got some different color corrections. Castle Age units, we have knights, we have longswords, we have throwing axemen, we have pikes, crossbows. The walls don't have holes here, so I guess you have to fight your way in. And the idea is that this is basically just obstruction to make it non-square. And of course the walls are an obstruction too. Let's just see where you can build. Principle you can build. Not there, but anywhere else. And you can't dock, or you shouldn't be able to dock. Yeah, so the players have their little area with standard-ish looking resources. And then you basically have to go contest this center for the gold there. The question is when you go contest it, or if you go contest it, or if you just try to defeat your opponent without contesting it. It's not too many Castle Age units. And the thing is, these buildings from the description won't switch to a different player once they switch to a player in the first place. So it is worth grabbing them for a bunch of free production buildings. Probably even like you send in monks in early Castle Age. It's not the worst play, although you need to convert a fair number of units. They will switch like Battle Royale? Okay. Maybe I read that the wrong way. Okay. Are they indestructible? Or can they be destroyed? Because in Battle Royale, you can destroy them. Okay, they can be destroyed. Well, okay, so the Gaia can, of course, then retake control of it if it's set up like that. It's not too big of a defending army. Like, you send in a couple archers and not even break through the wall, you could probably nab, like, an archery range here. And then you use that as a base for taking the rest, maybe. I also like these bridge middle pieces here. Presumably you can't walk through them. The units are super buffed. Well, let's go test game. Oh. There's some random arrows flying super far. What is this? Why are they shooting arrows that far? What is going on? Oh, they are super buffed. How much range do they have? Oh boy. Right. Okay. Perhaps. Okay, that's supposedly a bug. Restart. Alright. Yeah, okay, it's not intended. Noted. Noted, noted, noted. It's fun. I'm sorry about that, but it's too funny. That's something, though, you should try to fix. 5+2. Okay, that's not outworldly in terms of range. Fun stuff. I mean, Castle Age units are no joke, right? You can't grab this in Dark Age. Alright, maybe someone can help you with that. Could be some collective troubleshooting. Oh, the villagers can actually attack the wall? I don't think they'll be able to. Usually they can't. Come on. Charge into battle gloriously. I don't think they actually can. Wait, there was a gold. What is this? The heck am I interacting with? I'm trying to take control of the building, I think. Interesting. Hand cursor on the villagers? Interesting stuff. I mean, let's focus on the map layout, right? That's this stuff though. You do need to fix it ultimately, but like it looks cool. See, the wood is hey, and it's called wood because the pile of wood. I reported that bug, by the way. Um, hopefully it'll get fixed so that we can use pile of wood again instead of cow cow. It's a duplicate language entry. They messed up while making the DLC where that unit is, used a language entry that was already used. Alright. I think I know what we need to do here. We need some population space. How do I turn this on or you turn this on? You turn this on. Nope. I spelled you wrong. How do... I think that icon just appears when there's a unit that you can convert or take control of. See if we can like steal this monastery maybe. There are too many Gaia units still in line of sight of it. Need ballistics for my Cobra car. Convert! Yeah, we got the monastery. Now, will he retake the monastery if I lure him over? I don't think I can lure them far enough to play on defensive, right? Yeah, they can retake it. I can retake it. Cool, cool. And so it is like the unconvertible battle royale business. That's hilarious though with the super buffed stats the first time you test it. I wonder. Oh, the stats were the stats based on egg. I don't think they were. That's just gathering faster. Like if I go and do it again now. Oh, where am I running? I'm running the wrong way. I think oh, they're normal. Maybe it was something carrying over from the scenario editor? They look fine now. Sometimes the things that you've done in the scenario editor most recently can carry over, or did historically. Maybe it's something like that. Anyway, we'll go on. So, number... Yeah. Actually, we could do that while we're here. See how it reacts to having more players on the map. Should work. Presumably, yeah. gonna restart here because I think there might be some stuff being edited. Interesting bug for sure. Right, a heart map is number 6. And time to read. Who says love can't bloom on the battlefield? Non-square map. And there are a lot of birds that all start in the center and then probably spread out at the beginning of the match. Which is actually a fun idea. One panda rock. We have forests consisting only of the reddest of red maple trees. Then there's this, you have this, the maple leaf object is being used on the outside. Those are worth keeping in mind for map design going forward. Some of that here too. And then basically the players are on the outside of the heart. You start with a lot of cows, a boar. These are like foxes, a fox with a bunch of rabbits. Always one fox with the rabbits because they're living in harmony and not eating each other. Or not, the fox isn't eating the rabbits. There's one boar there, so I think only one. No, there's a second boar. Ah, there's the boar. Boar. There's probably another boar that I'm just not seeing. Gold, there are 2 gold tiles there. 3. Not much gold is my initial impression on the map overall. 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. So there are all of these ones in the middle are 3, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 times 3 is 24. 28 gold total. Normally a player starts with 7 plus 4 plus 4. That's 14 plus 14, 28. So I guess it's the same as a typical start, but with no neutral gold at all. And the amount of stone is single tiles here, also not very much. There's some heart-shaped forests in the middle too. And then there's this vineyard object, which was added in one of the recent DLCs, and it's on top of berries, maybe just as decoration. So lots of flowers, the lavender flower terrains. Definitely going for the theme. Like I like the full commitment to the heart theme here. This is a very open though. Perhaps needs a few more mineral resources. Let's see what it looks like in game. I run to the edge of the map, or I'm in this corner. I like nice terrain mixing and everything. The forest isn't so uniform. You know, there are enough variations or rotations of this tree that it looks okay. The birds have now managed to spread out everywhere. I guess it's a bunch of storks too, because they are associated with delivering babies in some cultures. It's a lot of birds. Let's see. Yes, the vineyard. See what happens when it looks like once I gather this. I mean, it looks nice. The amount of storks might be excessive. Maybe. Maybe. So yeah, when it's finished gathering, it remains as an obstruction. Vineyard. That's... You might consider if you change the graphics of the berry bush itself to the vineyard. I don't know how well that would work. That's an interesting idea for a map script. True, because in AoE1 you can attack the birds. This I'm not so sure about because you're left with an obstruction. It looks cool, but maybe you reskin the berry bushes to look like this vineyard. And we have rabbits hopping around. Yeah, it looks nice. Yeah, the number of birds might be excessive. Maybe. Maybe. Oh, yeah, the thing about the percentages on the berries, that's true. That might be an issue. Then you start harvesting initially, it looks like a vineyard, then it turns into berries when it's at 66% or something. Yeah, I don't know. Just a thought. They don't know if you want to leave behind a solid obstruction. I guess it's okay, too. People are used to berries not functioning in that way. Why am I being pained now? No, we'll deal with that later. Right, next up is the map that I submitted. Caverns. Where description: in the depths underground, trees can only survive where the light shines down from the surface. Wildlife clusters around those trees. Dark rocky depths of the rest of the map hold only gold and an extreme abundance of stone. Players start with visibility on all the woodlines, so you'll know where your opponent is and which of the other caves you might want to contest. The passages between the different caves cannot be walled, and 2 unwallable streams crisscross the map as well. Cave walls can be mined for stone. So, yeah, I made this map. We can look at it in game afterwards with the visibility. But basically, you have these clustered areas where there's a woodline and various food resources around it. And then there's stone, 2 layers of mineable stone, and the rest is not mineable. And then there's just some decoration further out in the outside area. I use the bogland terrain for this river because even after trying it with the foundation trick, the shallows are just wider when they blend, so you end up with something that looks about twice as wide as this, even though it's covering the same tiles. And I was using connection generation to make these rivers anyway. I had to do some hacky stuff too. All of these are actually player lands belonging to player 1. Don't remember exact. Because the terrain min distance, the terrain avoiding player start areas only works for player lands, so I had to make them all into player lands. Anyway, you don't start right in the center of your land, you start on the wall there, on the side of the wood line. And I think it's best if we look at this one in the skirmish. I went for the evening color correction just because it's thematic. But I don't know, like you can always disable it in the options and then you don't have color correction. probably many players don't even have it enabled in the first place. So I decided to have it so that you have visibility on the wood line itself. Sort of that's the idea is that that's where the light is, the trees can grow, and then you have explored but not visible around the outside. So you can't see what's going on around there, but you can just you'll know where your opponent is and you'll know if they're chopping into any of these wood lines. I think the way I've set it up, you'll always know where your opponent is. It would have to be a nomad map for that not to be the case. And then you have some outside areas that are visible as well, just for thematic reasons. I don't know, I just wanted to make a cave map and got some cool tools to do that now. Sort of limited. We don't only have so many rock models that don't have plants on them. Also, I did these are there's also the rocks that you mine them and they turn into stone. I mixed those in. The players will just automatically end up mining those as you have to. Oh wow, they have to attack it. Ha! Okay, that's a bit glitchy when they attack it, but then it turns into stone. That bug will crash the game if you actually use it, though. It works in the scenario editor, but it crashes the game if you test it or if you play in skirmish, unless they change that. The bug where you have no elevation, just a straight vertical line. Otherwise, it would be cool, but it crashes the game. Anyway, and then, you can see... Well, I have to do both of these things. You can see that your opponent's chopping wood. And if your opponent moves out to the other areas, you could see it too. And then the idea is that you could wall up some of these passages. You can't wall the passages themselves. It's rock terrain, but you could wall in front. And initially, I increased the amount of wood per tree. I was like, okay, let's give each tree, I thought 200. I was like, okay, let's do 500 or 1,000. And then I checked and realized that by keeping the normal amount of wood, it's actually the same amount as there's on Arabia. Partially because I increased the map size by 20% to offset all the non-available area. But turns out there's actually enough wood without increasing it. Yeah, the idea, if the stone is excessive, it will be easy to just say, all right, each stone pile has 50 or each one only has 10. And then you could have, on average on the whole map, a more reasonable amount. And I did set it up so that it can do more players as well. Where the one thing I didn't, because I'm using a bit of a hacky way to place the players, you aren't necessarily next to your team members, you're just at random. So, not really suitable for team games without some changing, but for 1v1 it could be good. Or for free-for-alls. Next on our list is battle lines. Mesh. Oh, well. Right, so battle lines. Close to the enemy, yet separated by an impassable rocky divide. Aggression is difficult, but not impossible. Will you seal yourself in a corner, or will you lure your enemy to a false sense of security and then strike them over the rocks? While the passages to access the enemy are limited, the divider is thin enough that it's possible to attack objects across the other side, especially later once you have units with longer range. So, yeah. The actual obstructions have black terrain underneath, which makes them visible on the minimap, which is good. And you start super close. It's kind of like the example, except you're actually fully separated. But you're very close to your opponent. You could tower probably, depending on which resources spawn close to the edge, you might be able to contest something. Usually berries will be taken by the time you could tower them. If there's gold or stone super close, maybe. But definitely once you have trebs, or if you have something like longbows, or any archer unit, you could contest the middle somewhat. Then it's a fairly closed map. It would be very easy to wall here. Here. Definitely want to do that. And then you've got your back area with some resources. And each of these corners has resources. They all have, probably all have the same resources, yeah. More or less. I think you definitely wall. It's actually a very closed map. We're probably... Okay, here you wall and you have two sides to yourself. Depends on how the center is rotated. Whether you end up with one side to yourself or two. You could, of course, go for the aggressive wall here and here as blue. Take three sides for yourself, but your opponent should be preventing that. And then once you're an imp, the whole center gets trebbed down. I think the middle could be, maybe it's like two overlapping player lands here. That's why you have this weird circle, or there's another land in the middle that expands out only this far. Although probably, maybe it's leftover terrain. And you've got a tiny land, one tile land there. The player lands are told to avoid each other. Or something, I don't know. Anyway, it's not a bad idea. It's of course a closed map. There's enough wood. We don't really get enough closed maps, so that's fine. It's got a some randomness in the middle, but always fair, I'd say, more or less. Except when your gold is, towerable, but doesn't seem to be the case. Even this, like, tower there, 5 tiles, 6, 7, you probably aren't ranging anything until it's already mined. The If I send my... So, right. I'm like here, I want to... Some, speaking of hacky terrain, there's a line of trees going right to my CTC for some reason. Alright, so this is basically like mostly walled already. Let's see if we can even see what our opponent is doing. That would be one other option too, is you give each player like an outpost on this middle here. Then you can really see what your opponent is doing, because what of course happens is you do this right away. Or early. Sneaks would be an option too, though. Like Black Forest, right? If you manage to sneak, you wall and you sneak one over, could be good. Oh yeah, I updated my mini-map mod. Another gap? I think there's no other gap here. I just click through. The villagers are making a run for it. Oh, there is. I think I walled too early, perhaps. Perhaps I should have walled here. Okay, it's because of the wood lines, it's actually not entirely clear where you should be walling this early. So you can mess up your wall somewhat. Maybe you need to look at these terrains and see, okay, here's the grass 2 terrain and here's the grass jungle terrain. And you should be walling on the grass jungle, but that's what I did. Like, I think the wall actually needed to be here. No, I don't play AU2 competitively. I played one ranked map last year. One ranked game total, I think. I played a bit more ranked closer to when the game came out. And I played some when I had some friends who were doing team games. I played a small number of games. Gold, 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 gold. Yeah, I was of course scouting where to wall and not scouting where the gold is. So here I did this wall when actually I should have walled here. Walled too early. But you can tell from the different terrain, if you're astute, where you should be walling, I suppose. Ah, interesting map. You should definitely wall towards the sides. You should secure one quadrant or two quadrants, depending on the layout on that map. Well, let's see what happens if you add more players, right? We were doing that for all of them. I probably won't work for this one, but let's see. Maybe it does. Ah, it does. Kinda. Kinda. Just for fun. That wasn't what the maps were being judged on, and I'm not judging them either. I'm just taking a look. But actually, almost all of them, I want to say all the maps. We didn't try Heart. Did we try Heart? I don't think we tried Heart with 4 players. Okay, that one doesn't work with 4 players. Most of them, at least superficially, supported more players. Zini's one here didn't either. The Bazzy map. This works surprisingly well. A lot harder to wall on larger map sizes, though. Somewhat harder to wall, depending on where. Depends, but yeah. And now we get into real Mishi business here. It still works. This is a bit convoluted, though. As long as you have each player's resources on their area, which I think is the case, or not. Stone there, no stone here. Yeah, probably don't play it with 8 players. But still, even with a bit of work, could probably work for 8 players. Sure. You can post updated scripts. Like overall, we could make a map pack anyway if once everyone's updated their things as much as they want to. Just in case anyone wants to use these maps later on for future tournaments, so they're available somewhere. I've also been asked to say that there's probably going to be another Alchemy League tournament contest happening soon, so you might want to submit maps there. Right. Speaking of which, we have one final submission, which was sent by DM, so there's no accompanying text. All right. Oh, there's the. All right. I can download that actually. Just wait a second. Let me copy that into my map scripts folder. All right. Restart the editor. And then we can look at the results in a moment once we get to that point. Right. This supposedly supports more players better. Let's see. And so it does. It's the layout that we had for this map, as expected, with more players. Good. Alright, so we have one final map that I wanted to show you guys. Submitted by Tech Chariot, who sent it by DM, but said it was okay to say it was from him at this point, once it's been judged. And the name was familiar. I remember this also, looking at this from some contest a long time ago. But it's been a long time ago. And it does fit the theme of obstruction fairly well. So it's called Petra, and desert city here with this narrow valley. No description, but we can essentially infer. Looks to be a nomad start, very hilly. It looks very nice from the visual appeal. A lot of the mountains. Each player starts with a market, it seems. And then you can go down this narrow canyon to get to two donkeys, which are trade cars. So we're going to have to test this one quickly and in-game as well to see how it actually plays out. From the visual standpoint, though, it looks very nice. What I say. Yeah, a lot of hills could be difficult for TCs. So you start with this. This is okay. So you can, of course, trade with your opponent's market, but what you should actually be doing is trading with this. Can we trade with it? It's a market. Trade with it. Yeah. So you basically run up and down this valley and get some gold at the beginning. This is just a mule cart. Having to find a TC spot, well, you take what you can get, I suppose. It is doable. Another mule cart. All the mountains here are tricky, of course, to know where you can walk and where you can't. How's this? Okay, the donkey is not so fast, but it will provide some extra gold if we speed up the game speed. Oh, there's another cart. I honestly, this is a very cool mechanic. Like, it looks cool, and it's from the visual standpoint, and also just as a cool early game type of thing. The idea, I think, is once you have some units in feudal age, while there are a bunch of wolves in the way, once you clear them out there, you could mine the golden stone here and also, kill your opponent's donkey. It is cracked terrain, but presumably it is wallable. We can test that. Right. Maybe it's quicksand and you can't wall it. Let's see. You can't. I don't have Magyars though, so I can't actually go in there. Okay, so that's not wallable, which is something you should do if you have neutral markets on your map. You should make the area around the neutral markets not wallable so people can't just wall them in. This area, presumably, you can build on. Ah, I see the trick. So the idea is that you can mine your way in like this eventually. You still can't build there, it seems, but I guess you could, you build out here and then you could essentially break into the center like this. That's pretty cool. And then the rest of the map is hard to find good flat areas, but looks very nice visually. Mostly a desert. The trees have 200 wood each to make up for the fact that the wood lines are all very small. Yeah, cool map. And I even have a villager here I didn't find. So, I think at this point we can probably go to the results, right? Let's see. I'll be back in a second.
Did somebody say results?
I did. Hello. Who are you?
Good, how are you?
So, you've been watching along. You have all the results from our judges, right?
Yes, I do have all of the results.
And I think everyone should be able to
Um,
hear you too. So I'll just let you talk,
yeah,
and I'll look at
hopefully,
the maps. Yeah.
sure. Yeah, hopefully my microphone's good enough. So firstly, wanted to say a massive thank you to Welcome to Ratcha for organizing this whole thing. It's really awesome to have an RMS competition. It's been quite a long time. So it's been nice to see the community get involved and make some submissions together. And we've had some really awesome submissions. All these maps have been really beautiful. It's nice to showcase the work that everyone can do. So thank you everyone for putting the time and effort in. It's also been a very interesting process being part of the judging side of things. It's interesting to see how different judges look at different aspects of the maps and have different tastes. Um, and then when you average everything out at the end, you hopefully get something that is fair and reasonable. So without any further ado, let's jump in. We are numbered, ordered, so we'll start with fifth place and work our way up.
All right.
So, drum roll, in fifth place for the 3-week competition, we have Battle Lines.
Oh,
Battle Lines, congratulations. Um, I'm so sorry I don't remember who made Battle Lines,
Battle
but
Lines
yes,
was by Year 7, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
yes. PS7, congratulations on fifth place. Really well done. We didn't have too many notes on this map. Uh, like what Zenna said, it's quite a closed map, but I like the TIE Fighter design, and I'm sure it'll be very fun to watch in the show match. Moving on to fourth place, we have Mont Saint Michel, which I believe is by Death Counter.
Yes, there we go. Well done.
So Mont Saint Michel, it did throw a little bit of a loop with the units being extremely strong in the center. But obviously that's a bug. Hopefully we can find a way to fix that. Beautiful design with the central city and very interesting potential gameplay there. The player lands could maybe have a bit more work done on them to make them a little bit more interesting. Part of that also is the center and the water areas look so beautiful and amazing and have so much going for them that the player lands stand out a little bit in comparison. But yes, very well done, Death Counter. Congratulations on fourth place. All right, moving on to third place. We have Holler. Holler was done by, was it Jizuki?
Yes, Jasuni.
Jasuni. Yes, congratulations, Jasuni, on Holler. Um, I don't think we had very many comments about this map. Overall, it looks interesting and matches the theme. It's interesting how it goes from narrow to wide, so it'll be cool to see in the show match. All right, we'll move on to second place. In the second place, we have Blind Valley, also known potentially as Flower Valley.
All
This
right.
was made by Jasuki.
So we have two submissions right after each other that were Tasuki and Jasuni.
Yeah. Yeah, this map was um, very nice, very appreciated by all of the judges. Very beautiful and interesting design with the, like, it's also random placement. So the pattern that you see is constantly rotating. So variation scouting is important. Be very interesting to see how it plays out in a real world match. I think the only other comment was that sometimes the terrain can be a little hard to understand and read, especially some of it looks like non-buildable terrain. It makes for a pretty aesthetic, but it's just something you have to learn, I guess. All right, now we're getting up to the lucky last. But before we say what first place is, I thought we would go through two honorable mentions. These two honorable mentions were incredibly close to getting the fifth place. It was a very fiercely competitive uh, judgment process, but unfortunately they just missed out. So one of the honorable mentions is a heart map. Um, yeah, it was very fierce, very close. A heart map looked very cool, but unfortunately it just didn't make the top five. The other honorable mention was Petra. So a heart map was an honorable mention. This one, one of the comments on this one is it could be interesting if there was a bit more hunt in the middle, so there's more reason to leave your base and not just wall up. And then Petra, yes, also very close. Very interesting map, very cool map. I think one of the comments was, yeah, a little bit too hilly on the outside. Could also be useful to have more gold on the outside, because there was very little. And the stone that's walling off that market area is a little bit too much, so it would take too long to get into the market area. Could make it a little bit thinner. And yeah. All right, moving on to first place in the 3-week map making competition is Caverns by Zetnus. Caverns by Zetnus. Everyone really liked this map. It's very interesting and also very competitive. Um, yeah, the interesting TC placement right on the wood line. Some notes that we had is yes, the stone should definitely be very much reduced to make it more competitive. Another common comment that we had was the terrain connecting lands is filled with these dark rocks, and it's kind of unintuitive that you can run over them. So maybe reducing these massively so that it looks like a clear runway could be a good improvement. And that was pretty much all the comments that we had for this map. It's really beautiful, really interesting, nice and random. Yeah, sorry, that's what I meant. This stone could just be reduced to 50 stone per pile. So
Yeah.
yes, congratulations to all the winners and all the submissions. It was very awesome to see. Um, they're all very creative, and it was a lot of fun. So hopefully we'll have another map competition in not too long. And don't forget to keep your eyes peeled for the show match, where these maps will be showcased in a 1v1 best of 5. Well, playoff 5.
All right.
Back to you, Zetnus.
Thank you for joining to give all the results here. I think we had a lot of creative maps, new maps, interesting looking. Is an interesting idea for the contest. The theme was something that people could work with, and people came up with a lot of different ideas for it. A lot of fun.
Yeah, the theme was a tough one to think of. In some ways, you don't want to be too restrictive, but you also want to give a prompt that helps people to be creative. So I'm glad that everyone really jumped headfirst into it. It was great.
All right. So I think we can call it here. Like I just said in chat, I will be saving this stream or the VOD of it so you can watch it again if you want to see what I had to say about your own map or what was just said about your own map, or if you just want to look at, if you missed it and want to see what happened earlier, it will all be there. And thank you all for tuning in. Yeah, it's been a good stream. We made some nice maps.
Awesome. Thanks for going through everything, Zetnus. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, so I think there was also talk of making a map pack of all the maps, or anyone who wants to have their map or who doesn't want to have their map in the map pack should say so, or if they, and I think all the ones where everyone's fine with it could end up in a map pack. You can also send any updated or fixed versions, probably just post them in the Discord would be best. That's also all from my end. Have a good evening, everyone. Bye bye.